Shut up and sit down.
I rise in the morning and greet the day. Pull out the bike and I'm on my way. The transportation shows I care every time.
Saddle up, cow people, and get ready for another titillating episode of the Dialed Podcast with your favorite yahoos, Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Yeehaw. Who writes this stuff? Yeehaw? Really? Come on. People, we can do better.
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Turing. I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler, here for your viewing pleasure.
And it is a pleasure.
Thank you.
Quite
a pleasure to be physically in the room.
To be seen.
And to show you. I'm going to stop.
Stop before it gets dirty. This is a PG-rated podcast.
This is a family-rated podcast. We want to keep our family rating,
Disney?
although I'm not sure.
Disney, we want to get in on some of that Disney money.
Send me that Disney money.
Get on that Disney money.
That other voice you're hearing and sitting to Lance's left, Mr. Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look pretty good.
Say it.
Not Disney good, but good. Okay? Let's just be honest.
Lance does feel a little bit like a princess today. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I have no response to that.
We watched The Parent Trap last night. Oh my gosh.
The old one?
No.
The Lindsay Lohan
Yes.
one? Wow.
1998.
Right.
So good. It was so good.
It is a good movie.
Family.
Yeah.
We need to watch something.
It put
We need to-
Lindsay Lohan on the map.
She would have broken out anyway.
Yeah,
She's a
she would have.
superstar.
Superstar. Flushed her life
Kristen,
away.
my wife, was like, is she having like drug problems? I'm like, I don't know, but sometimes she's in the news for
She's
things
clean
that,
at the moment.
I don't know.
Because I keep up with my Disney
your
princesses.
TMZ.
Lance rocking the 30-mile zone, yep.
Yep.
Hey,
What's everybody drinking today?
Oh,
that-
Evan,
That was
the ghost
the
of.
ghost of Evan. We finally got Evan on the podcast last week.
We're like, record everything that he says, and we'll just play it back.
no, hey guys, you guys up for recording a podcast today? Everybody's like, I'm in. And everyone's like, hard pass, I'm out. No, he was busy with work, so.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. He has Oceanside coming up really soon, actually this weekend. So he really actually needs to pack up and gear up. I think he's leaving on Thursday, so he's probably blowing off some work.
Because the race would be on Saturday or Sunday, sometime this week.
Evan, I'm drinking. I'm double fisting. I'm drinking coffee and LaCroix. It's a good day.
Coffee and LaCroix. Together or separately?
I'm gonna
Double
swish
fisting
them.
it?
I'm gonna drink a little sip of each and swish it around in my mouth and see what happens.
Sweet. All right.
I have a sparkly, cool LaCroix, Evan.
Good choice.
Yeah.
I do have a fresh cup of French pressed coffee here. I have not cracked open the LaCroix, but I will be joining you guys shortly after. Might have to get up and take a little potty break, too, at some point in time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Too many fluids. Thank you. All right. Let's get into our topic for the day. This is kind of something I ran across, I don't know, over the weekend. It was like a question. I'm like, that might like actually work well for us to do a couple different podcasts of. And it was basically stop, fill in the blank, doing whatever, and start doing this instead. And Lance and I got to talking, and Matt chimed in as well. And the one thing that we came up that we wanted to talk about today that's got a lot of depth to it was stop being afraid or procrastinating or waiting and start racing.
Stop wussing out. I was picking my words carefully.
PG-13.
Dang it!
Disney money. Disney money.
Yeah. I think I saw Lance bite his tongue 3 times in less than 1 second. That was impressive.
Stop wussing out and start racing.
Well, it could be wussing out. You could be procrastinating. You could be afraid. Well, I guess afraid is kind of wussing out, but waiting too. I mean, a lot of people are just waiting to get that right level of fitness, that right level of experience, whatever that right level might be, so that they can go out and start racing, but they're missing out on some opportunities. And there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot more to racing than just getting a result too. I mean, results are great, but there's a lot to be learned in that process. And sometimes just going out and maybe treating races that are happening as a learning experience, a way to get out there and do something that you wouldn't do by yourself normally, that's a good place to start.
True. Case in point, my whole year last year, basically, I I was heavier last year
Sure.
and not as fit. I had a lot of health issues and trouble going on. So I did not race well last year at all. But I still went and lined up at the races, and I had a blast. I had a blast at most of the races, mostly because I felt no pressure.
Yeah, that's true. Less pressure equals more fun in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was just going to say that it's almost more fun when you go out there with no expectations and your sole purpose is to ride your bike and have fun with other people.
Yes.
It's probably something that works for just about every discipline, with the exception of road bike riding, or racing rather.
Oh, that's possible. I can see.
Point being that get used to riding by yourself and enjoying the scenery if you're just going to take a laissez-faire approach to it. So I don't know.
I did do a few road races. Actually, I think I mostly raced PIR a couple times.
There's only so many road races
Yeah.
to do.
And all I did was like hang on
as long
for
as
dear
possible.
life at the back of the pack.
Yeah.
I was not.
The problem with the back, the problem with the back of the pack is that it's yo-yos.
harder. It's
it
hard.
yo-yos a lot more.
Yes.
But I still think that that's the right technique, because just hang on as long as possible, and then when you pop, you jog. You jog it in.
I had no options. It was like I ended up at the back. And I'm like, okay, I'm just hanging on here as long as I possibly can.
Grabbing jersey pockets and stuff.
Please don't
Pull
drop
me along.
Yeah.
So what other reasons are good for people to go out and race other than, just going out and having fun? I mean, what can be learned? What can you expect to learn from a race?
It is a killer workout. You can't argue that. Like, you go out there, even if you're in horrible shape and you're just pitter-pattering around the course, you're still going to probably walk away with some sore quads.
You absolutely push yourself harder by diving into a race than if you're just training or racing or trying to complete an interval set. That is true. You will push yourself harder in a race. So that is definitely beneficial. The other thing is you start to learn racecraft. You start to, it's really hard to get, experience about what happens in a race. That takes some time to learn, like what happens in brakes, what happens when the brake gets caught, when, where you should be near the end of a road race, where you should try to make moves in a cyclocross race, what mountain bike things. I can go like 1,000 different directions here.
Most important thing: how does this relate to triathlon? Guys, this is a triathlon.
I forgot that existed.
You forgot that this was a triathlon.
I forgot
podcast?
triathlon even existed.
Yes.
So Lance and I had a question for Matt. We kind of already seeded this question in him before the start of the podcast. If you swim, you bike, and you run, but you've never raced before, are you a triathlete?
Probably not technically by name. You shouldn't call yourself a triathlete.
Because a cyclist, you're a cyclist whether you race or you don't. And I don't think that there's a collective term for a bike racer other than bike racer that gets you. I mean, that's not the nomenclature that we use. That's not how we refer to a cyclist. Like, you're a cyclist and you either race or you don't.
Yeah.
Are you a marathoner if you haven't run a marathon?
No.
Right? I don't think you're an Ironman if you haven't done an Ironman. You're not a marathoner if you haven't done a marathon. I just don't. I think that it's.
Does a marathon have to be a sanctioned event, though?
No. I don't know. If someone was like, I like to run 26.2 miles, that'd be weird.
Robert Cummings last weekend or something went out and ran 26.2 miles on his own. Went on their own. I'm going to butcher that.
Yeah, that's
It's all right.
Robert Cummings. Yeah.
That is a lot.
They've been running lately.
I've noticed that. Yep.
Hasn't been riding the bike as much, but been running lately, and then went out
cyclists.
and ran a marathon.
Unsanctioned, just by themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Good on you, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird distance too. Like, I kind of understand being like, I'm going to go out and do 20 miles. Yeah, that's fine. Like, a lot of people do 20-mile runs
But why
or whatever.
26.2?
But 26.2, it's weird.
Okay, my question is, I mean, if you didn't have a triathlon race on your schedule, why would you do all three sports? Why wouldn't you just run or just bike?
Well, I think that's probably... I mean, there's a lot of days where I'm just like, oh, I ran after I dropped Ethan off at school, and then My friends swim at 10 o'clock. I go swim with the master's group at 10. Oh, the weather's good. Better go bike. And that's
you can almost
all
liken
in a
it.
day, but they're still kind of micro broken up, right?
Yeah.
But you're a freak of nature.
No, but really not.
It's not the same, but Lance, you like to mountain bike, you like to gravel ride, you like to
Yes.
road ride, you like to
Yes.
cyclocross.
Have you
Yes.
done? Have you,
I
all,
mean,
have
yes.
you ever done like 3 in a day?
I have.
Well, without it being part of a race,
Yes.
Best of both,
Yeah.
where you're just
which
like,
is actually 3 things.
oh, you have friends biking tonight or whatever, and you go do that,
Or I've done like hard road rides, and then the sun's still out and the dog wants to go for a run. I jump on the mountain bike and we go do 10 miles. So yeah, I guess I have done that.
basically you're a triathlete.
I haven't swam. Well, I take that back. I swam in Hawaii last
There you
week.
go.
Well, kind
At
of.
Kona, no less.
At Kona, I swam in Kona.
The mecca of triathlon.
That's right.
Not only are you a triathlete, you're creme de la creme. We'll just call you Kona qualifier.
Can I tell you how satisfying it is to go riding past somebody on a time trial bike when I'm on my road bike?
I should have a time trial bike just so people can pass me.
Just to go past somebody on the time trial bike. I'm like, jump on my wheel. Come on, let's go.
Did you say that?
Yes, I
That's
say it
awesome.
every time I pass them. And they never do. I don't
Because
understand.
that's illegal.
That's right.
They can't track.
It's offensive and illegal.
I would have jumped on your wheel for sure. I'm so tempted in every single, I didn't do Jack Frost this past time, but the last time I did it, every time someone would pass me, I almost would you have that instinct, jump on
Jump
their
on
wheel.
the wheel.
Jump on
Right.
their wheel.
Yeah.
Just for 2 seconds.
Just give me a little taste of it.
Anyway, get back
Oh,
to the original question. What are some other things that can be learned from actually doing a race? Bike handling skills,
Yes.
position,
Yes.
tactics.
Yes.
And it's not, let's not just limit this to road racing. I mean, there's all kinds of racing that people can get into on their bikes. Gravel. I mean, what can you learn from gravel racing?
Yeah, you can learn pack dynamics and bike handling skills.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely on a gravel race.
In triathlon, I always tell people that, you can't just swim a little bit, run a little bit, and bike a little bit, especially if you're doing all that stuff separate, because your legs are going to feel very different when you go from biking hard to getting the short transition and getting out and running. It's just not the same.
You have to train that transition
It takes
from
weird.
biking
It's
to
a-
running.
It's a weird feeling. And
Yes.
it takes a lot of work to get used to it. And it's also all these little things about a race where it's when do you need to report to the starting line? When do you need to, go to the bathroom? I know that's probably not something we want to talk about on this podcast because of the quality of this podcast. But you got to go to the bathroom before you race.
Yes, you do.
And there's going to be a line and you got to be ready for it's just all these little things check this. Triathlon's the worst because there's 1,000 things that have to go right where it's where's your bib? Where are your shoes going to be put? Where are your socks going to be? Are you going to have your socks flipped a certain way so you can get them on faster? When are you going to put your race number on? When are you going to have your sunglasses? Where are you going to put your helmet? 1,000 things, and it can all
I
go
think
wrong.
the hardest thing about triathlon is more times than not, you guys are traveling. And not just a short drive in the car distance wise. You're getting on a plane and you're probably flying somewhere to do a destination. If you forget something, that sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
How many shoes do you bring? Got your running shoes, your
Yeah.
biking shoes. You got to have some sort of shoes to get to the swim. You're not going to be able to have those shoes after the swim. It's a mess.
This
it's
is
all
probably
a mess.
This is probably a topic that we could do on its own, just the whole preparation process that goes into a race.
But it pertains to this, right? This is a very and so many people are I'm going to do an Ironman and then one and done and I'm good. But I always think you should do 5 races just to be ready for that Ironman race. They don't have to be Ironman branded events, but it's you do it and you realize, oh yeah, I really do have to have, I don't know, my timing chip on before the gun goes off. All these stupid things that you're yep, figured that out the hard
The
way.
whole pre-race routine.
Yeah.
The whole transition practice.
All of it.
It's almost impossible to practice transitions not in a race because you don't have the running section.
But what's nice about doing some races, just back to our topic, doing these things, getting off your duff and doing it is they don't have to matter. The results don't have to matter.
No.
You're the only one that's reading through the results and cares what that number says next to your name.
Yes.
All these other people are just happy to see you. And I think that's what I figured out. Was it last year or 2 years ago when I did it? No, I think it was last year. Well, there was probably both years, actually. You do a triathlon and you don't care what your times are or your finish place is because no one else does. They're just happy to see you
He's
out
just
there.
happy to see you out there.
Yeah. I walked the run of the triathlon last, the Columbia River.
Yeah.
And then the year before I didn't do well either, but we had a blast.
We had
And
a
that was the year
blast.
before where we had that old guy tell us about his sex life.
Lou Hollander.
90 years old.
90-year-old
Best
Lou
sex of his
Hollander
life.
told us about his sex. This is a Disney podcast, Matt.
Yeah,
Keep
but
it
that's
PG.
important.
Yes,
that
Lou.
is important. I hope he's still around.
I hope Lou's still around. That guy's
He's
legend.
a legend.
He is a
Living legend.
Legendary. There is a lot that goes into that. God, I'm just racking my brain about all of the things that you have to do, like going into a race.
Yeah.
Like the preparatory work, the making sure that you get a good night's sleep, making sure that you eat the right food
Make
in the
sure
morning.
you don't eat sushi the night before.
Make sure you eat plenty of sushi the night before.
That's for people that don't know. That's Jake's pre-race meal, which makes no sense.
That's rice,
Rice, sure,
protein,
but raw
and raw
seafood.
raw
It's
seafood.
just rocket fuel. If it goes
by that mean you-
sideways, the
if
race
by-
wasn't meant to be.
If by that he means diarrhea, that's rocket fuel.
The brown bibs. We're
Brown
bringing
bib.
back the brown bibs from last
Bring it
weekend.
back. Get a bit of sushi. Sprinkle some baking soda on there.
Yeah.
You're good.
How about learning how to pin on your stupid number? You know how many
Right.
people get that wrong?
Yeah.
And put it in the wrong spot, or it's
Or
upside
upside
down,
down.
or
Yeah.
it's just not readable. You can get disqualified from races for that.
Yes. Unless you're number 13. But yes.
Correct.
You can.
But time trials, it's weird, right? Because you're like, theoretically, you might be in some sort of tight outfit and it's going to stretch differently when you're in place. Well, probably for all cycling races, right?
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to, I don't know.
There's tricks.
a lot.
There's tricks to putting on your number by yourself. If you're, fully just like self-supported, like you can put your jersey around your legs and like kind of zip it up and pretend like that's your torso and put it on, and that kind of works. Or people will use a pillow, but if you've got a friend that can help you pin it on, that's going to be the best. But that's something that, like over a 20K time trial or a 40K time trial, if you don't pin on your number right and it's flippity flapping in the wind, that's going to cost you time.
Yes.
It's style points, huge style points.
Yeah, we've had people just in the Michael Myers time trial 2 weeks ago that lost by 1 second. Like if their number was pinned on incorrectly, could that cause it?
Didn't Josh Monda lose by a second to Rob Tornay?
No, that was Chris Hanel.
Oh.
And that's not why he lost, because I pinned his number on. It was pristine.
Okay, it was perfect.
Nope, Jake, you blew it. You blew it. I think part of me thinks like it'd be fun to do a race and just try to make as many mistakes as possible. Helmet on back, pointy helmet on backwards.
Maybe that's faster, Matt.
No one knows. Don't know until we try.
Well, I mean, I did a mountain bike race this last weekend, and there were like 10 things that I wanted to get done before the race.
Yeah.
And some things like pre-riding the start section with a teammate.
Yeah.
And then pre-writing the finish section, just so that we knew like where the single track entrance was, where the exit was, where the actual finish of the race was, just in case that became important. And it
Almost did.
It almost did become important. I forgot a couple things.
What did you forget?
I did not tighten my mountain bike pedals, and it ended up being a major issue.
That's
More to come later.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing for sure is like the whole triathlon or any sort of road cycling, like the whole bike prep thing.
Right.
If it is a big race, you're going to want to go through your bike and clean it up and get the
Yes.
drivetrain smooth and like all the little details.
Drivetrain smooth, the right tire pressure, the right tires on your bike.
It's all worth doing, and it's worth doing even if you don't care that much about your race. It's worth going through the motions.
Yeah.
Because it's a learning process, which is what we're
Exactly.
here for. So
Do you all make a list that you keep in your phone or somewhere that you reference before any race?
I put my list on toilet paper, and I use it, flush it.
Flush it.
No,
One and
I
done.
don't make I think I made lists for Ironman races if I was traveling, right? Because it's a mess if you mess something up. But recently, I've just been doing it, And you still forget stuff even after all these years.
I've got
you still
a
forget stuff.
list that I use every single time, and not for nothing. I reference it every single time. I go back and I'll get in the car. I'm like, right. And I tell myself, before you leave, you check the list, and I'll go back and look. And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot my fill in the blank, like a pair of sunglasses. And a lot of times on that list too, I'll have things that are kind of redundant-ish, like a jersey could be like if you're in an area where the weather can change on a dime. Like, make sure that you've got a vest in there just in case. Make sure that you've got like a long sleeve alternative just in case, or some arm warmers just in case the temperature is going to change. Because you don't want to show up and all of a sudden you're like, well, crap, it's going to be 15 degrees colder and now it's going to be raining. I've had that happen before.
Oh, yeah.
We did the Kings Valley Road Race once, and all I had was my standard kit. And it was supposed to be like low to mid 50s, and then you get down there and all of a sudden things kind of changed, and it was crappy weather. It was it was like 10 degrees colder, and it ended up raining half the time.
You could have used a vest and
100%,
warmers
100%,
and
yeah.
didn't have either of those
Correct.
things.
And so those things are on my list now to take just in case, because sure, if you don't need them, great, but it's really nice to have them there.
I went up to Whistler in the summertime, assuming it was going to be summertime. It wasn't.
It's Canada. It's
I
Canada.
went around to all the stores and bought up all of their like shoe covers and things. Like, it was a mess. Yeah. Then I gave Evan just this weekend, because he's going down to Oceanside. He said it's going to be cold. I was like, here's the stuff that I scrambled to buy in Whistler, and it served me well. So hopefully it works for Evan.
It's good for you.
What about the food preparation?
Preparation.
Preparation.
Sushi. All sushi.
Prepositions.
Every time.
Gas station sushi.
Boys fan.
Has to be gas station sushi. Don't
Do
mess
you-
with the formula.
Do you guys ever? I mean, it's bad practice to tinker with your nutrition. Like, if you've never used something before, you shouldn't be taking that down or ingesting that on the day of a race. But if you're not taking it super seriously and you want to maybe kind of tinker with things a little bit, maybe just not having this be like the race that you care about might be something that maybe you want to try something or other. Because God, there's so many different things out there that you can use, but there's certain kinds of gels that hit a little bit different. There's certain kinds of meal replacement or supplements that you can put in your bottles that hit a little bit different. And chances are you've probably used those in a pre-ride or not pre-ride, but a training situation, but maybe never in a race situation. That's a good time to, those things that you've quasi-tested out, that's a good time to go try them out so that you can say, yeah, that worked really well, or you know what, that's not going to be enough, or I need to go with a completely different brand of something because it just, it didn't set right with me. Is that something that you guys ever do in a race, or what you would consider?
I have. I'd say I'd recommend people try it in training, try it in a B race, and then decide if you want to do that plan for the A race.
Gotcha.
For me, it would be, Ironman would be a full big A race, but then I would practice my nutrition in a half Ironman race that I cared about. Uh-huh. So it would basically be following the nutrition plan of timing of food and what I would, the type of food that I was, it's all set up just how I would do it for an Ironman, except for you're taking in more fuel than you would need for a half Ironman, but you just end up cutting it short at the end. So it worked really well because it's just practice. For full Ironmans, I would take real food, like actual sandwiches. In a half Ironman, I wouldn't do that. But if I'm training for this full Ironman, that's the one that's important. Then it's important to practice all those little things, and eating is a huge one. Nutrition. So
I have a specific breakfast that I eat for on race day.
What kind of sushi do you have for breakfast?
I have day old gas station sushi. No, I have oatmeal with nuts and berries in it and hot chocolate because I don't drink coffee. But I have hot chocolate and oatmeal, and I've been doing that for years, and it agrees with me, and I know that it works right for me, and so I stick to that. So
same for all races, no matter what, or you just increase the volume of what you're eating, maybe sometimes based on the duration
of the race.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you ever throw yourself a curveball there, or are you pretty much hard fast, I'm not changing it?
If I forgot to bring oatmeal with me, then I'll. But that's the thing. You get into race mode, and I got to make sure I have the right breakfast for me.
Steel cut, instant, rolled, instant, all instant, huh?
Yep.
It's more of the.
There's no chance of it not being cooked properly, and then having
Jake,
gastric distress.
You've been there. You've been there, right? Wasn't that like a training camp 2 years ago?
Couple. It was
Brown bibs.
Brown bibs. That was the very first training camp. There was some undercooked steel cut oats. I think a couple other people had that issue as well. And it's like, those people rode at the back until they had their issues, and then they were riding at the front.
They were all good again.
Oh gosh. What else can you guys think of that somebody would benefit from? Is there a name for this when you show up to a race, but you're not really racing, but you're racing?
Practice races.
Practice
Yeah,
race?
That's what PIR is.
People call it B racing all the time
B
or
racing.
whatever.
Is it a B?
Or even a C race. I mean, this is a tri-dork thing where it's like, this is my A race of the season. You know, I don't know. I don't like it when people talk like that. But like it is the truth,
It would
right?
be
That
nice-
you do have races that you gear up for.
Yeah.
And all the other races are like, if you train through a race, it's definitely not your A race.
Yeah.
I use Trainer Road
Yeah.
for my training workouts, and you have to designate every race you put in your calendar.
Do they do
whether
A,
it's
B, and C?
A,
or?
B, and C races.
Okay,
Yeah. And so
All of your races are A races, though. So what is your
No,
B race?
You can't put
only
you
one
can't
per
put
season.
two per season. They have to be at least 6 weeks apart. A races have to be at least 6 weeks apart. Otherwise, you can't build and So most of them are
Wrong, Lance. It's just like throwing errors at you. Wrong.
Nate. Yeah. So
just
I don't know.
put
B
every-
race still implies that you're racing. What we're talking about is, I guess you are kind of still racing, but you're just kind of going out there to try it out. So you're like test driving it. I want to come up with a term for this. Maybe we can coin a term by the end of this whole show.
practice race, test racing.
I don't know. We'll bring it back full
Okay.
circle. But anything else that you can think of that people would have a good takeaway from this?
Okay, one thing that we haven't mentioned yet is it supports the race promoters.
Oh, yeah.
Good call.
So by going to do a race that you wouldn't normally do or weren't going to do anyway, but by supporting the race promoters, it leaves races on the calendar for future use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really easy to do for a cycling race, because the cycling race is going to be $25 to maybe $50. Triathlon, that could be a little bit of expensive
that's true.
gesture there. I mean,
$900 for a race. Seems totally reasonable.
Totally reasonable.
you get a couple $900 B races on your schedule coming up, Matt?
Well, I used to get into a lot of races for free, and so that made a lot of this stuff a little bit easier pill to swallow. But
Free is good.
But I mean, I was kind of working for it because I was like working for the triathlon company that was anyway. I think it's still worth it if it's a little bit expensive. $900? No, that's ridiculous. But like,
Well, Ironman doesn't need support.
no, they don't need your support. But like, why racing is such a good organization? Like, you'll see, like, they just do good things throughout the community all year round. That's the group that you want to support for sure. And I think a lot of the race directors on the road cycling scene are just trying to make the sport better. They're not making a ton of money.
No.
They're doing good things for people. And so, yeah, I think if it's, you guys, $25-$50, I would talk to the race directors and be like, seriously, just up the price. They should be upping the price. They should not be $25 races unless it's $25 for youth cycling, and for, guys over 40, it's $75 or whatever.
The weekly PR races,
Yeah, sure.
those are about the 20 to 25. I think they raised the prices this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like $20 pre-reg and $25 for day of, where it used to be like 15 and 20. Yeah. So and I get it, inflation, right? But most of the road races are about $50. How much is the mountain bike race that you did yesterday or over the weekend was about 100 or more? Less?
Honestly, it was less.
Was it?
I honestly don't remember. I want to say it was like $50 or $60 for a 2-hour mountain bike race.
But I don't know. There's a
Honestly, don't remember.
there's a lot that goes into those things to make them successful. And I think that for all intents and purposes, the guys that are running mountain bike races right now are probably the promoters who are doing the best. And good on them. And I think that they should. And I want to see them be successful. And I'd love it if they're making a pile of money, because it means a lot of people are showing up to race their bikes, which is good for the sport.
Yeah.
Road racing, on the other hand, oh gosh, I mean, it's like not taboo, but it's really like you're pulling teeth to get somebody to volunteer to race or put on a race. It's a lot of times now it's like a team, and they're doing it just because they want to keep their particular discipline of bike racing alive.
Yeah, right.
How about the Mike Myers Classic? Did that make any money?
Yeah, we did all right. And we didn't kill it, but we were marginally profitable, and which is pretty nice for us because that goes back into the team coffers to run some of our programs that we're doing, which is a good thing. However, time trials are a heck of a lot less expensive to put on than a traditional road race because a flagger. Like I'm half thinking about quitting my job in this whole bike industry thing to become a professional flagger because they're making about $100 an hour.
That's where the real money is.
Oh yeah, so they're doing all right. Fortunately, we had somebody that volunteered for us, and it was a fraction of the cost. And the only reason why they were paid is because we insisted that they get paid. But flagging can be really expensive. Outhouses really expensive. City permits. All of the different things that you need to put on the road race, those things get really expensive. And then you got to lean on your community or your team or whomever really hard to get volunteers to come out and do all of the other little things. So road racing is really difficult, and it's becoming more and more difficult as time goes by because less municipalities are open to this idea because they don't want to have the liability on their hands. So it's a tough one. So you are going to see prices going up there just to try and make it somewhat, of a break-even venture, but it's tough.
The mountain bike race that's coming up this weekend is $65
For the Mudslinger?
for the Mudslinger.
That's
but it's
pretty nice.
It's $35 for youth.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's a chipped time event?
It's chip time.
Which there's an inherent cost there, too. That's another thing that we didn't get into. I mean, for us, for the chip timing, I mean, we had to raise the prices for what we charged for the time trial just to cover the cost of the chip timing. So, like, a time trial used to be about $20 to $25 to do, and that was maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. We charged $35, but we had chip timing, which is, I think, something that everybody enjoys.
I think you charge $50
for a time trial, even.
Sure.
For 30 minutes ish of time on the bike, huh?
I don't know. I mean, that's $15 extra. It's not. I think the thing is, we need to provide as much value as possible when people come out there.
Sure.
Then, do we have music out there? Do we have food and drinks and make it a real event? Again, it's all tricky with the weather and the time of year that it is because it is hard to plan for that stuff. But I think that there's real value outside of the 30 minutes that you're on the bike. Mm-hmm. So I think that some of these people that have fancy time trial bikes and things like that can afford $50 versus $35. And again, I love the idea of like youth are free or youth are cheap or some sort of way to make it like you don't want to gouge the people that can't afford it. And you do want to put it a little bit to the people that $15 extra is not going to break them. No. I'm looking at Lance.
Thanks. Race promoters aren't getting rich doing this. Local race promoters are not getting rich putting on races. So supporting them is important because when you lose promoters or they give up, these races go away.
Lance, let me just ask you a question. Are you going to promote a race if you're having to put in gobs and gobs and gobs of hours to come out of it and think that, I was profitable, but I made a couple $100? No, you're not going to do that. It's not sustainable. You can't put food on the table for your family. You're not going to, pay for your mortgage and all that other stuff. So you really need to have your game dialed in with respect to promoting to make good money. So this can be a profitable venture for you. Otherwise, the promoters that are out there that are just breaking even or just making a few bucks, they're going to be here today and be gone tomorrow, and it's just that much less road racing that we have.
If you raise the prices, do you think you would get a lot of complaints? Do you think what would the negatives be if you raised it from $35 to $50?
I mean,
what do you expect you would see?
It's supply and demand. It would go down.
You think numbers would go down?
Numbers would go down.
Yeah, people would say, instead of doing 5 races, I think I'm just going to do 3. So
I could see that.
I think that's kind of what you're looking at.
If you're doing 5 races at $50, that's
Yeah, and not everybody's
starting to put a little dent in the wallet.
And there are a lot of people out there that, they can afford it just fine. But there's also a lot of people out there that it was pulling teeth just to be able to get the bike that they have and to be able to go out and race said bike, 10 times a year at $50 a pop. Like that $500 just might not be in their working budget.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think that you're very, you set the price up a touch higher, but then you're generous with coupon codes. Someone sends you an email. Why'd you raise the price? Here's a coupon code. It's $35 for you now.
That's a good call.
It's just constantly. Yeah.
So you want to maximize the number of people that you can get out there. You want to get as many people as you possibly can.
That's true.
Because what you should be doing is trying to supplement that or even supplement your income with sponsors. And the more people you have, the more sponsors you can bring in. And there's other ways to make money off of an actual race other than just pulling that or extracting it from somebody's wallet. So it's just finding that happy medium, and you've got to make it work. And yes, in this day and age, things are more expensive across the board. We've seen it just in the couple of years, but we've been running the time trial, that things are getting more expensive. But if we can come up with creative ways to get more people out there, get them excited about the racing, and make them want to keep coming out and bring their friends, and then offset some of that with costs from other business or industry that want to support bike racing and want to support what you're doing, that's a good way to offset some of that cost.
I agree.
So
the Olympic triathlon at Hag Lake, $127 plus registration fee, plus you have to be a USA Triathlon member.
Plus registration fee. What's the registration fee?
Registration fee is $12.16.
Is this
for the registration through their online registration system?
So basically, they're covering their processing fees and whoever's managing that.
It's a third-party company that does the online website registration piece. Yeah.
Okay.
Which Ober does for events for free.
They do not. They still charge. They charge your
for
processing.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they charge your processing fee. Yep.
Okay. Hopefully, it's not $12 and
no, it's not.
cents.
It's.
But it might
I
be
think
per-
it's a little bit
maybe
more
it's
in
a
line with what
percentage,
the credit card processing fee is, if I'm not mistaken.
$3
but
or something.
$3 or $4, depending upon the size of the
Amount.
race. But
yeah, it's expensive to go do a triathlon.
yeah.
More expensive than a lot of things.
Yeah.
So and
There's more infrastructure for
There is.
triathlon.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot
Sure.
of
About that
factors that you
swim
get to
Yeah.
consideration.
Deal with
And the whole transition area.
transition area. You basically
Yep.
have to like lock down a whole park in this case.
Yep.
And that's all those roads that you got to cover too.
Yep.
So
Yeah, the equipment to
Yep.
do all that is expensive. And Y Racing, if I'm not mistaken, owns all of their own equipment, which is a good thing to have. But if you were like if Matt Legrand wanted to go promote a race,
right.
dude, that's a hefty price tag that you're going to have to,
Pay a timing company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it gets expensive.
It's very expensive.
Crazy. So again, there's all of those things, all of those components, but you as a person that wants to support the cycling community can help support these promoters by going out and racing. If you're a bike racer or not, you can still go out and do these things and you're going to have a fantastic time. And the experience that you get to have before and after is pretty phenomenal. Hanging around with everybody, getting to tell stories and getting to look at what you do. And maybe you're going to do a road bike race and maybe you get dropped. But if you do it and then you come back again the next year, you can see how much you've improved. And it can be just a race against you. It's not technically a time trial, but you kind of treat it as such and just go out there and have a good time. For the people that maybe have the fitness to do it and they're kind of hung up on some of these things, or they want to treat it like a B race, don't go out there with the notion that you have to win the race, because sometimes it's just as much fun to work with other people to make things happen. Or if you're on a team, to help your teammates out and work for them, that's a blast. Plus, there are other things that are built into races too. Like a lot of races, like if it's a road race, they might have like, it could be a circuit race, or they might have a climb in there, and they'll say these things ahead of time, like, hey, the first person or the fastest time or whatever it might be, you can win some stuff, money, prizes, and all those things. But not everybody's going to go after that because they don't want to blow themselves up, because they're saving themselves for the whole enchilada. If you want to go out there and just play, go out there and win some preems, go out there and win the bell laps, or go out there and see what you can do to bring home some bacon. Because sometimes if you win some preems, especially like in a crit, if you can win a couple of those, like Pacific Office Automation, they did the hammer crit. They kept ringing the bell for an hour race, and they're throwing out preem laps. Like if you were trying to compete for those, you can win several $100s.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So go out there and do it.
Yeah.
Just a different way to kind of address the whole race there. But just working for a friend sometimes when you're maybe not feeling it, or you're a little bit nervous or whatnot, and your only goal is to go out there and help them, and you don't really care about what your end result is.
Super fun.
I've had just as much fun, if not more, in some of those races. And that's almost just as gratifying, if not more, than winning a race or getting on the podium. It's a blast. Now you can't necessarily do that in triathlon unless it's something that's,
it's not as much of like
legal.
helping a friend or whatever. You don't. I do see people drafting and helping a friend, but don't do that. Don't be that guy. But yeah, no, you can get out there. You can cheer for people as you're racing.
Sure.
Which seems crazy, but it's still fun. It's just like be out there with friends, support everyone, cheer for everyone, have drinks afterward with everyone.
Sure.
Do it all.
So there's a full package of experiences that you can take away from a bike racing. We've talked about a bunch of them, but there's still going to be people like, I just don't, I can't, I don't want to do it. Or it's cost
be
prohibitive.
scary.
It can be, I'm nervous. There's too many crazy people out there that are, living recklessly or whatnot, or I just don't feel comfortable going out there. There's still other alternatives that you can look at that doesn't necessarily have to be a race, but it's going to be adjacent. That's going to help you gain that confidence, gain those skills,
Even a time trial is kind of one of those things where it's like, you're not going to be in a peloton and dealing with, there are other options. There are other race types.
Yeah. But you can also show up to your local world's race. You can show up to your local flogging ride. There's locally here, there's the Savvy Shootout. We've got the flogging ride. There's other people that are running weekly rides that are a race-paced ride, and you get to ride with a full composite of different kinds of bike riders that are going to be able to really teach you and kind of take you under the wing. And more times than not, cyclists are some pretty cool people, and they want to help the community. They want to kind of get more people involved, and they're going to spend the time. I know if somebody came up to myself or even Lance and they started asking questions like, why did you do that there, or what's going on with this, or why did that person do what they just did, or how can I position myself better to maybe hold on to you guys, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to spend the time that's necessary to teach these people all of the things that I know so that they can be more successful, so that they're going to have more fun, so that they keep coming out. And so hopefully one day they pin on a number and go race their bike.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good place to look. And, Strava's fantastic for this because you can go and you can see what people are doing. You can be a part of some different clubs. You can see if there's some race-paced rides out there. That's a good thing. Or, just joining a local club or reaching out to your local team. Hey, do you guys ever have any spirited team rides that you're going on that I can maybe join? More times than not, the teams are going to be, yeah, great, come on out, because they might be interested in you joining their team.
Are there any spirited, open to the public rides that are happening this Thursday that you would like to promote or let people know about?
Come out and flog with us.
Flogging ride.
Weather, can it be okay this week?
I don't know.
Thursday.
We canceled. We had the first one of the season on the calendar for last week, and we canceled it because the weather went sideways.
I think
and
that's
crappy.
to be expected, right?
It's
A
just that
lot
time
of
of
these
year.
are going to be this time of year. There's going to be a lot of cancellations.
Well, there's been a weird spring.
Yeah.
Well, we had snow. What are you talking about?
When we have these rides, people are like, "Oh, you should just go out and just harden up." Rule number 5. I'm like, yeah, but when we're still dealing with limited light in the afternoon, in the evening, and you've got dark, cloudy, gray skies, and it becomes even less visible.
Yeah.
And then you've got wet, slick roads, and you've got people driving in cars, and the weather's looking bad. It's just not worth it to go out and do this. If it was a closed circuit and there was no cars out there for sure, and we knew that we could give each other enough room and space and go out there and do the ride, then yeah, sure, we'll do it. But it was best that we just canceled it and rescheduled it this week. And now it's looking like every day this week. Every day this week is supposed to be good, with the exception of Tuesday and Thursday, and those are the 2 big group rides that we're doing this week. So we'll see how that pans out. But once it gets a little bit deeper into the year, say mid to late April, if it's still looking bad, we'll go out and do them, because there's just that much more light. Unless it's going to be torrential downpour, or we get some crazy freak snowstorm that wants to blow through here. There's hail in the forecast, super windy. But we'll still go out and do it rain or shine. But that's something that's actually good for you to show up to, because races almost always go off. Now, there have been a few races that have been canceled that I can remember in recent years because of super bad weather, and it's usually high winds and the threat of snow or hail or just inclement weather that's just really bad. But more times than not, the race goes on.
Moab Rocks is a 3 or 4 day mountain bike stage race that's going on right now, and stage 1 was canceled because of snow and ice.
Okay, so it's just not safe to ride, nor is it fun.
No.
But more times than not, though, if the weather's bad but not a situation where it's unrideable, they're still going to do it. And you got to know how to race in that kind of weather.
Right.
I mean, when you're riding in a pack of 15, 20, 30, 50, 100 people, and it's raining, you're going to be sucking a lot of road spray, and you need to know how to put yourself in the right position, because you're still going to be wanting to draft. And then you got to know how to dress for that kind of stuff. And you got to know how to take corners a little bit carefully. And you got to know about the paint on the roads gets to be a little bit more slick. So you got to make sure that you're not hitting that incorrectly. So there's a lot to be learned there. And if we can simulate that, through these simulation races, that's a good thing to go learn.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Anything else that you guys can think of on this whole stop being a wussy and go out and start racing?
That's good. I think that's a good discussion.
Good.
Anything in the triathlon world, Matt, that we missed?
No, I mean, I think that again, getting out there and being part of the community is just, it's good for people to see you. It's good for you to see people, because sometimes you don't see all these people otherwise.
Yeah.
Everyone's working from home, working on the computer. It's just good to go out there and cheer for people and heckle them. Could be heckling.
Yeah, a big thing if you're having a hard time of getting over this hump as well, and maybe you're just riding independent, we'll beat this drum to death and we'll say it again. Go look at joining a team. Find a good local team and start riding with them, because nothing to me is more motivating than when a bunch of my friends who are on the team are going to go out and do a race, and then they start saying, "Hey, Jake, you going to join us on this one? You going to come out here? What do you got going on that weekend? Can you come out and race?" And once you start getting a little bit of that like good peer pressure, that's a good way to put something on the calendar and go out and do it, because you know that you're going to have a good time if those guys show up. And if it's just being by myself, it's too easy to back out and say, "Nah, I got too much going on," or you know what, I'm still not feeling it, or maybe my fitness isn't good enough, or like all the excuses start to like just marching through your head. And sometimes ready to stop. Yep. Go do it. Go race. Cool. Anything else?
Moving along.
Moving right along. What do you want to do first? Do you guys want to backpedal?
Let's backpedal.
Let's backpedal. I think we'll save all the other stuff.
I'll be really fast because I have a feeling Lance has more to say.
Go fast, Matt.
I probably biked like once or twice. I know I Zwifted. I'm doing the Tour de Zwift again. I don't understand why there's multiple Tour de Zwifts. There was like one at the beginning of the year, and now there's one during like March and April.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Like, it should be once a year, right?
I'm confused.
Anyway, whatever. Who cares? No one cares about Tour de Zwift. Just do it. I'm racing those as 100%, like as if they're like a race.
Yes.
I mean, I just sprint at the end.
It was sprint at the end, but they actually rank you when you finish,
they
right?
rank you. So it was
What's your best place that you finished?
I don't know. I went hard on... What was it, Sunday or Saturday? No, I went hard on Saturday, and there was 600 riders. I was about 100th.
That's good, man.
I kept having dropouts on my Zwift hub. I need to switch back over to my better trainer. But anyway, that doesn't matter.
So you're still using the Zwift hub, huh? Is
I'm
it just because
lazy? Because I literally need to take a bike and pick it up like this and put it over there like that.
Yeah.
It would take me about a minute and a half, but who's got time for that?
Right. Just jump on and ride.
So you've got the Zwift hub, you've got the Kicker Core, and you've got the Tax Neo 2.
Yes, that's kind of and I have
you've got the roller things
Wahoo
from
roller.
Rollers.
I'm trying to think of what else I've got.
Do you ever use those?
No. I should have brought them to the time trial because I think it's a good.
Yeah, it's a good warm up device, but it's still kind of clunky. I'd still rather use the Omnium from Feedback Sports. I think that's the best.
I think that's the most portable, which I think is really important for events and things like that. Yeah. So
that's another thing that we didn't mention. Learn how to warm up and get yourself prepped and ready to go for a race.
That's
also
important.
True.
Yeah. I think that the majority of my training for the week was spent running a bit. You know what I did? So my wife took me to downtown Camas, world famous, and we did it was a surprise, although I kind of had a good feeling this was going to happen. But night in downtown Camas, then we went for a run. So we went to the movies. We saw Shazam. It was okay.
Okay.
And we went for a run the next morning on the trails, Round Lake. It was gorgeous out there. And I ran 5 miles. It was very long for me. And then we finished right at Natalia's, which is like this little
breakfast joint. Yeah,
I would call it like a greasy spoon kind of. It's good food. It's great.
Yeah, it's like some home cooking.
It's good. I don't mean greasy spoon as an insult, but maybe it's good.
I've still never eaten there, and I've wanted to go there.
Have you ever been there?
Only person in my family who likes breakfast foods. They'll tell you that we like. They never want breakfast foods. They suck.
Yeah. It was good. It was totally good. I've only eaten there once before, so this is my second time. My wife had never been there. We've been in Camas for, I don't know, a dozen years or something. So
yeah. What'd you get?
I don't remember what it was called, but it was like hash browns and eggs and vegetables.
Oh, nice.
Is this where we're at in our back pedals as we're talking about hash browns?
Yeah. It's more important than anything else I did this week. Other than that, I've been swimming. I think I swam 6 days last week or something crazy.
Oh, wow.
So watch out, Michael Phelps.
Very nice.
Light it up.
Right on. I'll do mine real quick, then we'll let Lance talk because he actually raced his bike.
Yep.
I rode my bike for 9 hours last week.
Oh, that's good. Solid.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not bad.
How's everything feeling?
It was mostly trainer stuff.
Yeah.
I did ride outside. Was it just once? Was it? I think it was.
You did the gravel ride.
The gravel ride. I think that was the only time I rode outside last week. And that was a beautiful ride. As a matter of fact, we did the podcast last week after I did that gravel ride. I don't know if I talked about it very much, but it was so nice to be outside again. And it was a beautiful evening. It got a little chilly at the end, but it was like your heart rate was up a little bit and you're feeling plenty warm. You could just tell that your arms were like frozen solid, but you still felt pretty good.
Yep.
But that was a beautiful night. And then other than that, it was just a bunch of trainer rides. I'm still trying to 100% kick this bug thing that I've had going on. It just keeps ebbing and flowing and going up and down with like the energy levels. But for all intents and purposes, I'm just about there. I think I've got it just about licked.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to have a good bike week this week. I did not swim. I did not bike.
You sure?
I know I did bike, but I did not run. So yeah.
So
Thank goodness.
you're on your way to being a triathlete.
Yeah.
1/3 of the way there.
1/3 of the way there. But yeah, it was a good week. I didn't get a race though because I don't have a mountain bike, and I wouldn't probably have raced anyway because I'm still.
I heard
a little bit.
there's a mountain bike at the lab. There's going to be some wrestling.
I think this guy sitting across the table from me is going to wrestle it away from me
Gonna
though.
win. He's gonna win that one.
We're gonna have a lube wrestling contest and see who gets that
Country
bike.
wrestling.
Country wrestling.
Anyway, that's my back pedal. Lance, what did you do this week?
So I did race my mountain bike at Echo Red to Red out.
Meadow. Red.
Echo Red to Red. So,
Echo.
Yeah.
Orange, green, blue.
Stop it. So this is out by Pendleton area, kind of in eastern Oregon.
Middle of nowhere.
Type. Yeah,
Just tell people middle of
it's
nowhere.
like 3 hours from Portland. But there was probably 250 people who came out and raced. It was great. We had like 15 teammates.
That's it?
Out.
I thought that they had more.
I think it was about 250.
Didn't they have
That's
like
awesome.
400 or 500 people? Was it last year?
I don't know.
Did
Last year the weather was terrible, and the year before that it was COVID, and there was no groups.
They're probably coming back still from COVID. Yeah.
I would like to check the numbers because I know that they had a really big number, a big turnout. It was either last year or the year before. Whatever the first year back was, they had huge numbers.
It was great. So, I raced in the Cat 2 50 to 59 field. We actually the whole Cat 2 field all went at once. We weren't split up in age groups or anything. So they just like blew a whistle. There was like there was a neutral rollout for a couple miles, and then you hit a gravel road and it was race on. And so I've been feeling really good. My training has been going well. My legs are feeling pretty good. And Chris Surratt is racing in the Clydes. And so we're pretty evenly matched on the mountain bike,
And they rolled out with you guys, correct?
They rolled out with us. So we rolled out together. We had a plan, me and Chris, because we knew
All out from the gun. As soon as you turn on the gravel road.
We knew that we would be like, he would be one of the favorites in the Clydes field, and I potentially could be up near the top in the 50-plus field.
You're kind of a big deal.
I don't want to say this, but so we kind of had a plan. And however, they put the Cat 1 juniors with our field too. So
those guys like to take it out easy.
there were like 15 like 14-year-olds that just absolutely demolished me. Yeah, it just ripped. And so we hit the hot section, and me and Surratt were actually able to stay with the group over the climb. And we were trying to position ourselves into the single track because there's 14 miles of single track. So it really becomes a race into the single track because it's kind of hard to pass in the single track. And all these kids just freaking crushed us. It was awesome. They just whipped us. Anyway, Surratt ended up into the single track, like 10 seconds ahead of me. He put in a better move than I did. But I'm gaining on him. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm starting to pass people. I'm pretty sure that I'm in the lead of the 50s. I'm not positive because we're all mixed up.
Yep.
But I get 3 miles into the single track, and I got past Surratt and wanted him to get on my wheel, but he couldn't quite go with me. I get 4 miles into the single track, and my left foot starts to feel funny.
Like more wiggle.
There's more wiggle than it should
wiggle.
be. And I thought my cleat was coming loose, but it wasn't. My whole pedal was coming loose.
You don't need that.
So I made the mistake. I hand tighten my pedals on. I never like crank them down.
Well, you want to hand tighten them down, then maybe give it just like a little, like maybe 3 or 4 newtons.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. And the pressure of the mountain bike racing, it backed out my
It's weird that
pedal.
backed out.
So I'm thinking, what the crap is going on? I get about 4 miles into the single track, and the pedal falls off.
And then from then on, you just pushed with one foot on the ground.
It's stuck to the bottom of your shoe.
Stuck to the bottom of my shoe.
It's a bit of a hassle to get that off.
So I jump off, I rip it off my shoe, and I'm trying to
tighten it back in.
trying to do it back in. It takes an 8mm, which I don't have
that's a
with
big
me
one.
because
Yeah.
it's a big one. Surratt passes me and he's like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "I need an 8mm." So he stops, pulls out his multi-tool that has an 8, handed it to me, and just said, "Just take it." And
See ya.
yeah. And so he takes off. I crank on the pedal, and I think, "Okay, fantastic." Throw the multi-tool back in my pocket, and just as I'm about to jump back onto the single track, a line of 20 guys goes by.
Of course.
Like,
They're just seeing the sights too.
Yes.
They're like, in the next stop of the tour,
Yes,
everyone
that's right.
bunch up here, tight.
Lights up here, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So like every chance I got, I was
people,
like,
yeah.
I'm coming around to the left," and I'm like, I'm like
You're stomping on
I'm bonsaiing through sagebrush to get around people.
And that's not the best course to do that because what's in the bushes?
There's goat heads
Everywhere.
everywhere.
yeah.
So you have to be kind of cautious. They actually added a passing lane on one of the first climbs just to help with that reason this year, which was kind of cool. Anyway, so I'm passing people. I finally get around all 20 of those guys, and I catch back up to Surratt.
Wow.
So I got back on. I'm like, oh my gosh, my legs are actually feeling pretty good. I'm going 5 or 6 more miles into the single track, and my right pedal starts to come loose.
Oh my jeez.
I'm like, what the crap?
Did you stop before it came off?
I did. I stopped before it came off. I tried to crank it back down. I couldn't get it back down. I went to grab the multi-tool that Surratt gave me, and it had fallen out of my pocket.
So you lost this.
I lost Surratt's. I owe you a multi-tool.
Chris is probably he's gonna kill you.
He always buys the nice stuff too, so you're going to buy him
I
something
blew it.
pretty pricey. Yeah.
I freaking lost his multi-tool.
Someone found it on the trail.
Somebody found it on the trail.
That's a nice find.
It was in my pocket, but it like bounced out, whatever. So I couldn't get it to crank down. So I just kept going. And then my whole right pedal falls off again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then Surratt passes me, and he's like, "Use my tool." I'm like, "I lost it." And he's like, "I don't have another one." So
Jesus.
I'm like, "Thanks, sorry, Chris."
So you put it back on finger tight and
So
just
I
hope for the
tried
best?
to put it back on finger tight, but by then I had ripped out.
Strip the
I had
threads.
stripped several threads, and so it wouldn't quite go
See
in
there, yeah.
all the way. But a guy on an e-bike stopped and said, "What do you need?" I'm like, "I need an 8mm," and he's like, "Oh yeah, here." And he like pulled it out of his pack, gave it to me. I cranked it down as tight as I could. I gave it back to him, and I thanked him a ton. I jumped back on. I'm like, okay, now my pedals are feeling good. So I ripped for another.
Did he let you sit on his wheel?
No, I was going faster than him.
Oh, seriously? He was on an e-bike?
Yeah, he was on an e-bike. He was at the
Yeah, but that's
back
on those
of the-
trails,
still.
right? Single track trails, those e-bikes, you can only go so fast.
Still, though, man.
Yeah.
You
Probably
ride an
the
e-bike,
hills.
mountain bike? Yeah, those things just motor.
So anyway, we're coming to the finish of the single track, and I feel the pedal coming loose again on my right side. So I know I just don't have it in there all the way, or the threads are like not good. But at this point, the guy who was in my field, he passed me when I'm standing on the side of the road, and he just yells at me, "You're just gonna pass me on the road." He just like joked with me. And so, okay, it's all funny. I jump back on. I get to the end of the single track. My pedal's still loose, but it's not coming out. And there's a hard, steep gravel climb right as we come out of the single track. So you come out of the single track, and you've got 3.5 miles to the finish line. That's all gravel and paved roads. And on that hard climb, I caught back onto Surratt, who was sitting on my competitor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Lead out train.
So my competitor he wasn't moving as fast. I caught on to Surratt. I like bumped his tire to say, "Hey, I'm behind you," but I don't want to yell that I'm behind you.
I would have wiped out. Hey, just letting you know. Whoops.
And so he turns around and sees me, and he's like, "Just wait. Just stay with me for a minute." So we get up this hard climb.
Sounds rude, man.
Yeah.
Dialed cycling.
We
Dialed
totally ganged
team.
up on him. We completely ganged up on him because we had like 3 miles to go. We get to the top of the climb. My pedal is loose, so I'm pretty much using just my left leg.
Time out. Did you go back and look at your power profile? Because you do have a power meter on the Quark power meter that's going to give you a left-right breakdown. Did you happen to look at all that just to see if there's a discrepancy?
I didn't look at that, but I'm sure because like for the last 3 miles, I was like 70% left leg and 30% right leg. I was really trying not to put too much pressure on that pedal because if it came out, I was
done,
hosed.
Yeah, you're not sprinting.
So anyway,
you see Lance like riding back with one leg.
just going one leg.
Fred Flintstone with his right leg and pedaling with the left.
Were you sore the next day? I mean, I would have been sore from the one leg exercise.
I wasn't. Go
Not
figure.
Okay.
So, but whatever. We get to the top of the climb, and Surratt, the guy I'm racing against, doesn't turn around. He never like peeks at us, and so me and Surratt are both just sitting on his wheel, and we get to the top of the climb. There's like 2.5 miles to go, and Surratt like gives me the signals like, get on my wheel. I'm about to go, and we're gonna go hard left. He's like,
go wide, just like snap the rubber band quick.
Yes, we're gonna go, and I'm like, I'm ready. I hope my pedal doesn't fall off. And so he jumps. We both swung way wide, like across.
You're not coming on our wheel, buddy.
No, yeah, like. There was a gravel road, and then there was a dirt road next to the gravel road that Chris and I had pre-rode and found out that it was very firm. So it was like, it could be fast.
Yeah, faster than the gravel road.
Faster than the gravel road. And so when we jumped, we went all the way left, across the whole gravel road, all the way to the dirt road, and we just kind of drilled it all the way to the top of the climb. We turn around. We had put a minute into him.
Yeah.
If there's somebody on the team that you want to be sitting on their wheel in that kind of a situation, you pick the right one.
Dude, that 3 miles of racing was the funnest I've had in a race in I can't remember. Yeah. It was just like me and Surratt just drilling it. I get to the top, we start coming downhill, I go to the front, Surratt's sitting on my wheel while we're just drilling it, I think we had that whole final section. We had like the 5th fastest time of the whole day out of everybody because we were trying to make sure that guy didn't jump back on. And so, yeah, we hit the road, we hit the finish line, and he was way back there. So I ended up winning the 50 plus.
Congratulations. Yep.
So yeah, there was some hate that said, you should be in the Cat 1 field. But I'm 53 this year, so I don't have to race the Cat 1 field unless they make me.
Next year.
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so Surratt ended up winning by like 6 minutes, and I ended up winning the 50 plus field by like a minute. So it was just so much fun to finish like that. And so I rolled across the finish line. Surratt and I kind of gave each other a hug, and my pedal fell off.
Wow.
I had to walk back.
How's that for timing?
Man, it was pretty good. And
So-
yes, yeah.
What's coming up this weekend?
Mudslinger is this weekend.
You're gonna need a new bike
A
for
mountain
that.
bike race.
Probably 2 or 3 bikes for that.
My cranks are ruined. The threads are stripped. So
I'm just, this is a mechanical question. Is there any way to rethread those cranks?
They do have a tap kit that you can rethread them, but you're still kind of going
It's
to
like
have
not
that
worth the effort.
Yeah, it depends on how bad it is. There are good kits out there that you can use to fix that. It's just not always,
Because it probably depends on like the price of the crank versus the actual. That's a lot of labor.
yeah. So and I do have a tap kit that we could try, but it's
does.
probably better to just kind of
just punt on it.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, yeah, Mudslinger's this weekend. Mudslinger, the Echo race, the single track, it's my kind of race. The Mudslinger is not quite as good for my skill set. There's a lot more climbing at Mudslinger.
it's got more technical stuff in it too that you make up for.
It is, but the climbs are so long and wide open that if you're a climber, you're gonna put minutes into me. So I'm not real confident about Mudslinger, but yeah, Echo it was kind of right down my alley. So.
Man, I got to tell you, looking at all the photos and seeing all the results and seeing how much fun everybody had, I was having like the whole FOMO thing and then the full-on regrets of not being able to be out there with you guys. So I need to get back into the mountain bike racing.
The after awards party was packed, which we haven't had out there for several years. There was tons of people there. We had 15 teammates, like all hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Beal came up to me like, "This is why I joined a team. It's because I wanted to be at a race where I have all these teammates and we're hanging out.
Yep.
And we're all happy and it's all fun.
Yeah.
So
He's a good dude.
yeah, he's a good dude. So yeah,
Funny guy too, but
it was a good time.
Yeah. Congratulations,
Thanks,
dude.
man. It was. I really wasn't expecting it because I didn't know really where I would fit or who else was going to be there. And some of the guys I normally race with weren't there. And Court Johnson, who would have handily beat me, who I've raced with him a lot over the last few years, he raced in the single speed field.
Oh, he did.
And would have crushed me if he had raced the 50 plus
Did
field.
the single speed ride the short, or the medium or the long
No,
course?
they rode the long course.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah. So he rode.
How did he do?
He was 6th overall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who
So
won the single speeds?
it was a guy I don't know. Danny Weichel was 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job, Danny.
Yeah. So it was good times. Anyway, that's enough. Me. That's
Good back pedal.
I finally got to race.
The back pedal.
An
was the
actual
problem.
back pedal, yeah.
The pedal was the problem.
The back pedal was
Back
the
pedal
problem.
down, yeah. All right.
What else we have? We got Champ Bailey around here.
Champ Bailey, top 5 here. The top 5 I'm all about having
Good times.
Good
Champ
times. Champ
here.
is here. We have these wonderful classic races that are happening over in Europe, and my gosh, the racing was fantastic. The E3 Saxo race was on Friday, and you had your big three that got in a breakaway at the very end. Wout van Aert, Matthew Van Der Poel, and Tadej Pogacar, all three of them got away, so they were going to sprint it out. And this time, Wout was in the right spot and went for a bit of a longer sprint than normal because I think he knows that he can get Matthew in a longer sprint, but a shorter sprint, not so much. So Wout van Aert ended up winning the race on Friday, which was fantastic.
Yep.
So super exciting racing. It was very cool to watch. Yesterday was Ghent-Wevelgem, which is also a big classic cobbled race. And this time, only Wout was in it. Pogacar wasn't there. Van Der Poel wasn't there. I think they're prepping for Paris-Roubaix, which is next week. And
Is Wout not racing Paris-Roubaix?
I don't know.
Huh.
I think so, but I'm not sure. But with 50K to go, Wout van Aert made a move up the Kemmelberg cobbled climb, and he only had a teammate, Christian Laporte, that went with him, that was able to go with him.
Uh-huh.
And so Wout and Christian Laporte stayed away. They kept everybody at bay, and they ended up riding into the finish together. And Wout, it was just really cool to see Jumbo-Visma, kind of control that race. And then Wout just basically gifted the race to Christian Laporte. Like, look, I've got lots of other races to win. You need to win this race. This is good for us together. It was really cool to see. So,
did you hear Eddie Merckx's remarks about that afterwards?
I did. He made some comment.
I would have not done that. I would not have handed it away like that.
That's the cannibal.
Yeah, exactly.
It just makes me like him more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry,
It was
man, but it's just he's a class act, and
he could have won another classic, race, but come on, he just loved seeing that.
I read a little bit about the finish, and you saw how that panned out. You just talked about it, but I didn't actually watch the race. When they broke away in that last 50K, who did the lion's share of the work, or was it pretty balanced?
They balanced it out.
Okay.
So Wout was actually pulling away from Laporte, but Laporte, once they got over the climb, was able to get with them.
Okay.
And then they turned around and realized they had 20 seconds, and then
It's like game on.
they drilled it.
Yeah.
They just swapped pulls the whole way. And then with 10K to go, Wout looks at Laporte and says, "Do you want to win this race?" And Laporte's like, "What? I don't know. This is your..."
because he's a worker bee,
Yes.
basically. I mean,
Yeah.
that's who you want to give,
Right.
That's who you want to give victory to, right?
And
like
so-
this guy just works for the team. mostly.
Exactly. So
it was a cool finishing picture shot.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
They were like arm in arm, and then they separated, and Wout like kind of gave him a little shove so he would go across the finish line first, and it was awesome to watch.
Fun.
It was very cool to watch. So that was cool. The other big racing that happened, the Volta Catalunya in Spain happened, and this is where Matthew Van Der Poel not Matthew Van Der Poel. Evan Poole and Primoz Roglic were battling it out. And they battled it out on every single stage. And it was really exciting racing. I think Roglic won 2 stages and Remco won 3 stages or something, or maybe it was the opposite of that. But the ones that Roglic won had enough of a time bonus that he had a 10-second cushion.
Yeah.
And so when it came right down to the finish on the final stage, Remco really went for it, but Roglic was able to stay with them and let him basically win the final
Do we know if Roglic is going to ride the Tour? Because I know he's planning on riding some other
Giro.
He's riding the Giro.
But is he going to ride in support at all?
Like we don't know.
It'd be cool if he did a week or 2 and then dropped. I mean, he could do that.
We don't know what his plan is for the Tour yet.
I don't know.
From what I understand.
Yeah. It was funny. There was a stage, I think it was the second to last stage. They got into a break, and it was Roglic and it was Evenepoel. And then Roglic just basically sat on his wheel, and Evenepoel was livid, furious that he wouldn't come around and take a pull, wouldn't work around. And it's like, why would I take a pull? If I just ride with you,
It's 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
And like if I ride with you and I work with you, then you attack me and then you put time into me, I look like an idiot, And it's just not, and there's no sense of doing any extra work. But it was just kind of funny to see Evenepoel almost pulling a little bit of a prima donna. I can't believe you're not doing this.
It's not the first time he's done that, right?
It's like, dude,
he's 23. Yeah. He's young.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Is he 23? I thought he was younger than that.
Maybe he's 22. I don't know.
Yeah. Fun.
I'm a sportscaster that really doesn't know anything.
Sportscaster. Champ Bailey out.
Other big news. The Tour de France of mountain biking happened this past weekend down in South Africa, Cape Epic. It's a 7.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they have like 7 stages, and they're all super difficult stages. And it was actually won by Christopher Blevins and Matt Beers. They won the whole thing outright. So both Americans, which is fantastic. Yeah. So it was cool to see. I think Keegan Swenson had gone down and teamed up with Lachlan Morton.
Wow.
But they didn't do quite as well as Blevins and Matt Beers did. So that was kind of exciting. It was exciting racing to watch. Yeah. So it was pretty crazy.
Cool.
Other than that,
that's it.
Champ out.
Champ Bailey out.
So loud.
Let's
dial in those audios, those waveforms.
No, for us it's loud, but when you listen to the podcast, it sounds fine. But for us, it's like so loud.
I sometimes think our voices are quiet depending on which platform you're playing it on. Like I play it in the car and I have to turn the volume like all the way up.
I've noticed that too. It's a strange thing, and I've had people tell us that it's too loud and ask us if we can turn the volume down. It's kind of all over the place. So
yeah,
I'm sorry. We're doing our best.
We're trying.
I think that we're gonna just jump into one last thing.
One
boys.
last thing.
Yeah. I don't have the little Patreon bin to do a Patreon drawing, and so I didn't get to do one before the thing. So all of our patrons, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll do a double drawing next week to make up for it, so that we can
one at the beginning of the podcast, one at the end of the
podcast. There you go.
Stay tuned, people.
2 people, 2 winners. Sweet. I think we touched on everything, so let's jump into one last thing. Matt Legrand, would you like to start us off?
Believe it or not, I posted another video last week.
No, you don't say.
It bombed again.
Oh no.
I actually, so the radar one that I posted before, like I kind of expected that one to bomb because people aren't that interested, but I'm always going to review radars because I think it's an important technology. We talked about that, right?
We did.
Might have been side channel, might not have been on the podcast, but we think it's such an important topic. We think more people should have radars. I'm going to cover radar stuff on my channel. This next one was Apple Watch bands, like which watch band you should choose. This is the one I posted last week. And I did some interesting edits with it. Like I did some stuff in After Effects, did some,
and
put some
all that stuff, that doesn't take any time. That's super easy stuff to do.
It's like I've been fiddling with it for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something.
Yeah,
long time.
Only like 15, 20 minutes worth of time total, though, right?
Total.
Yeah.
Total. And no one's watching it, which is fine. It's fine.
That's so
I'm
disappointing.
happy. I'm so proud of the video itself. So there's that. At least the intro is unique. It's not like all the other things that I do.
You need
so
to repackage it, put it out there, put some massive clickbait on it.
I'm just
going
gonna
to
keep posting
it.
I'll keep posting it until and eventually it'll have enough views. But yeah, so that's that. Coming up this week, I'll have I always post a birthday video. My birthday is on Wednesday.
I was going to say it's almost birthday time.
So
for
maybe if the podcast comes out on Wednesday, I don't know.
Yeah,
if we're still posting on Wednesdays, but yeah, that'll be 44.
44.
Yeah, in the video that I'll post, I always do this. I'll go and I'll swim 44 of something, and I'll go, run for 44 minutes. I'll do like 44 things, right? And then I'll ask people like, and be sure to put in your guesses for how old you think I am, and people will just randomly guess stuff like wrong, and I'm like, how did you not, from all the context clues, they'll be like, you look like you're about 50 something, or you look like you're 30 something, and I'm like, did you not hear the workouts that I did where everything was 44? Like literally, that's
come on.
Anyway,
I love it.
Yep,
very cool. Well, happy almost birthday here. Got our security system's going off there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Lance, you got one last thing?
One last thing for me. We do have Mudslinger mountain bike race this Saturday down in the Corvallis area of Oregon. It's a fun, crazy race. It will be muddy. It will be wet. So that always makes for interesting racing. So
cool.
There is also a road race this Saturday in the state of Washington. Mason Lakes has its second road race in their Mason Lakes series. Yep. So if you're looking for some road racing, there's also some on the Washington state calendar as well.
Not some. It's chock full. They have got a bunch of road races on the calendar this year. And if you're looking for some road racing and you're in the greater Portland area and you're okay with maybe driving a little bit, jump onto the calendar of Washington State Bicycle Racing Association and check out what they have to offer.
WSBA calendar.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to choose from there. So you going to call your shot for this weekend, Mr. Hepler?
No. First.
No,
I'm not.
I'll be winning everything.
I will not be winning everything. This race just it's not my.
What's the best you've done in that race?
I've won it before.
Okay.
I've won it before, but
what makes you think that you're not going to do well? Because I know that the race that you won, I remember like one of my favorite pictures of you was you and Terry coming down some like switchbacky single track stuff.
That was Coast Hills Classic.
Oh, was that Coast Hills?
Yeah.
Oh, wrong race.
Yeah. So, I this one just, there's so much climbing. I don't know. If I make the podium, that'd be like thrilling for me. But I don't know who's going to show up either.
True.
Our teammate Scott Carroll, who is very fast
will
and
be
very
there.
fit, he will be there, and I don't think I've ever beat him. So
yeah, he's fast.
So he's fast. So yeah.
Actually, I chatted with him over the weekend. He came into the lab and was just doing a couple things, and we got to talking about that. And I still can't wrap my head around that guy. He's a bit of a conundrum. I mean, he's 57 years old, but he rides like he's 30 something, and
fast.
He is crazy fast, and he races all the time. He races 2, sometimes 3 times a week on Zwift, and then he's doing some hard rides. And then, come race season, I'm like, how are you not breaking down? He's like, yeah, I found something that works for me. He's like, the biggest thing though that he said is that he has to stay consistent, and that a part of that whole staying consistent thing is making sure that he's got a steady diet of that high octane race-paced racing that he does on Zwift,
sure,
so that he doesn't lose it. And he's like, yeah, there have been times where I felt myself to kind of, seeing a little bit of a decline, or if not, plateaued, or if not just like really kind of finding myself in a ditch. And then he'll take a little bit of time off, but it's not much, and then he'll get right back into it.
Yeah.
But at the start of a race, is
I
it
can't
not
stay
like
with him
it's
at
like
the
a
start.
Zwift race, right?
Yeah.
You wind him up and he
drills it.
just takes off, and then like he knows what his power numbers are for an hour.
Yeah.
And he just locks and loads, and then for the longer races he'll just dial it back just a little bit and knows where he's at with his heart rate and his power numbers, and he just drills.
I tend to be a little quicker than him in the technical stuff.
Yeah.
So on the single track downhill stuff, I'll make some
Time up
on him, but I can't hang with him on the hills at all.
Yeah.
So that's all good. That's racing. That's why we go do it.
Yeah. But that's good job, Scott Carroll. 57 years old and
Yeah.
still just a beast on the bike.
Sure.
Love it. Cool. One last thing for me, just for clarity's sake, I am going to Playa del Carmen, leaving on Saturday.
Yes,
Going to be
headed
gone
to
for a week.
Mexico
Yep.
with the
So
family.
That's right.
I won't be
Spring
racing.
break, people.
I won't be racing bicycles, but I'm going to be doing a bunch of other cool stuff down there. And
Triathlon stuff, probably.
yeah, all kinds of triathlon
A lot of
stuff.
swimming.
In circles because my left arm doesn't work. I've actually had a few people reach out, so thank you to those that had some suggestions of things to do. I think our calendar's full. It's going to be a good time. And then when we get back, I need some arm twisting to get some races on the calendar. So,
All right. I'll be happy to do that.
We could put this podcast on that we just did and replay.
maybe I'll have to listen to it, right?
Re-listen to this one.
Right on. All right, we will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.